she's trying to explain, like, I think Jason might be real, and I think it tracks with what I've learned about psychology. He suffered a trauma, and now he's, like, forever haunted by the memory of his dead mother or whatever.
Yeah.
And Paul's like, she's talking woman talk over there.
He's giving her nothing. He's not even cute. I hate that Ginny's with this boring bozo and just, I'm Paul, you're on your period. And then she tries to have like a serious conversation or talk at all at the bar, and he's like, let's get a load of this period.
What's up, everybody? I'm Matt Stoke, going real extreme in this episode about Friday the 13th Part 2.
I don't have a soundboard, so that was a good scream. I screamed. Nope. I creamed my scream jeans.
Unveiling new skills after so many years, too many years of marriage. No, the perfect amount of years of marriage.
We're done.
That's it. This is it. Yeah, this is our podcast. I'm Matt Stokes.
And I'm Lacey Roth.
And this is Load Bearing Beams, movie podcast where the two of us who married each other talk about movies that we love. In this case, a movie that I love and my wife doesn't. My wife, Friday the 13th Skeptic. I think this might get you more hate than your Star Wars skepticism.
I will look forward to hiding under my bed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're doing Friday the 13th Part 2, my favorite. So first, Friday the 13th is my favorite horror franchise. I do love it so. And this one is, I think, the best movie. It's my favorite. I think it's the platonic ideal of a Friday the 13th movie, even though Jason doesn't wear his hockey mask. But Lacey, not such a big fan.
Why are you still... You have no idea what I'm going to say. You have no idea.
That's not true. You told me while you were zonked out on Goofballs the other night, falling asleep, you're like, I'm going to give it 2 stars on Letterboxd.
No, I did not. I don't even talk like that.
You do when you're zonked out.
Well, don't talk to me when you're taking advantage of me.
Like, make me a bird, Matt. Make me a bird.
You're not even quoting
See
that,
you
right?
on the other side.
Okay. Catch you on the divorce side. Stop telling me what I am.
Then I look forward to hearing your opinion, but this is... God. You know, it's fine. You're not the boss of me. You can't tell me what I like and I don't like. But I want to issue this challenge. So our podcast, one of us picks a movie that the other that we like, that we want to defend, but we're not so certain about. At least that's the classic definition of what a load bearing beam is. It's the premise of our show. And I want to issue this challenge to you, Lacey. I think you need to pick a movie in the future that you actually think might not be good.
What do you think I've been doing?
No, you like every movie you pick. When's the last time you didn't like a movie that you picked?
Oh, I've just been on a roll. I don't know. When's the last time?
The last one that came close was Dogma, and even then you're like, yeah, but I like it.
I like Kevin Smith. Just don't like Dogma that much. Shit. Well, okay, wait, that's not... Wait, so what's my next movie?
You don't have one.
I don't have one.
But October is coming up. We're doing horror movie month. Is there a horror movie that you love that you think this might be a piece of crap?
So you want me to take more of a risk, is what you're saying?
I want you to put yourself out there. Put it on the line.
I mean, I don't think that I haven't been. I'm telling you I like movies, and God damn it, I want you to believe me. But I'm telling you that my memory's bad. So I won't be surprised. Do you really think I thought Drumline was going to go as well as it did? I thought you weren't going to like it.
I know, you kept saying that. You're like, I'm worried about Drumline. I think Drumline...
It was a fucking delight.
Yeah, and the episode turned out good, and the downloads are good, which is all that we actually care about. We're very numbers driven here at Load Bearing Beams. Well, you looking around for movies that you...
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just something for you to ponder, and people listening and watching, let us know. Give us some ideas. And give us some ideas about what you'd like to see in October.
I don't have a ton of load-bearing beams that are horror movies, is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of relax. We can do whatever we want.
I do the fuck I want.
So...
let's do Death Becomes Her again, because I love it.
We could do that.
I love it.
But that's...
Well, we revisited Beetlejuice as a part of our last Halloween season, so I'd like to revisit another beloved of mine that we can do now that we have a better idea of how to do a podcast.
I'd love to, but last year during October, the 2 movies you chose were Beetlejuice and Addams Family Values, neither of which is actually a horror movie.
You're not a horror movie.
I'm not a horror movie, but you can do whatever you want.
So then why did I just give you an answer and you said, you know what, you shouldn't do that.
I guess I just wanted to make you feel bad about your answer.
Thank you.
It's
got death in the title.
That's true.
It's gotta be horrific.
That's true. I mean,
a lot of practical effects.
Yes, very much so. Got the word death, so TikTok isn't going to like it. And you got spooky witch powers.
Spooky witch powers. I would love to do practical magic, but that's kind of like, that's not a horror movie. Fuck. It's got witches. Hold on.
We could do The Craft.
We already did The Craft.
We also already did Death Becomes Her.
Yeah, but The Craft was more recent, and I feel like
that's
we did
not true. The Craft was our 4th episode. Death Becomes Her was our 7th
The
episode.
Craft was our 4th fucking
that's
episode.
Right. It was Jaws / The Craft, episode 4.
We gotta do The Craft.
All right, good. I'm gonna like it this time. I already know that. God damn it.
Yeah.
So look forward to the Craft episode in October. But what are we doing today? It's Friday the 13th, September 13th, 2024. And we're going to get into the movie in a moment, but I want to issue this call to all of y'all that we put out bonus content on our social media. That includes our Twitter account. We say Twitter in this house. We don't say X, and that's Load Bearing Pod on Twitter.
Can we get a yard sign in this house?
In this house, we believe Twitter is still called X. No, wait, no, you know what I'm saying.
Damn it. Do you think he named it that just so that people, when talking about it, have to say something that sounds like this? When I was on X, oh my God, I was on X the other day, right?
That twisted fuck would make us do something like
because
that.
Because he grew up when ecstasy was called that, or when Molly, or what, MMDBA, an MBA.
Is it not called X anymore? I've always heard E.
I mean, that Molly is what that was for a long time, so they completely renamed it.
Wait a second. Molly is ecstasy?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
MDMA, help me.
MDMA?
Right? That's the actual thing that it is.
You're my drug consultant. I don't know drugs. I don't do drugs. I wish I did. Can we do an episode on Molly? Should we?
I've never...
Weigh in, listeners.
On it or on it?
Should we take drugs and do an episode?
Our brain is not... You've missed that window, sir.
Oh.
It uses up all your serotonin for the month. You want to go without it? Don't think so. It's not worth it.
Truly, the worst opinion I have that I could share with a young person is I wish I'd done drugs when I was younger.
Well, let's not tell any people.
But I don't want to tell that to you. If you're young listening to this, disregard that.
Yeah.
Disregard. All right, Load Bearing Pod on Twitter.
Okay.
Load.bearing.beams on TikTok for the 4 months that TikTok is still allowed to be in the United States. And Load Bearing Beams on Instagram. You can get bonus content such as Laci and I sharing our favorite kills from a slasher movie.
Can you even guess?
Every week we do an adjacent a little bonus clip. We ask what's our favorite movie that's like related to the movie we're talking about. And the only place you can get that is by following us on one of those 3 platforms. We don't even put these videos on YouTube. Yes, Laci.
When did we get the Craft in VHS form?
I don't know.
Oh, I think my friend got it for me.
And just put it there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice. Glad I gave that person a key. Whoever it was.
So, Laci.
Hi. Yes. Podcast.
What? Tell me about Friday the 13th and You, a love story.
Okay. Well, my history is that you said I've seen it before. The end. I have not seen any slashers until I started dating you. I'm pretty sure, right?
I guess. Hey, I don't know.
I think I've seen it to Friday the 13th. Nope. I've seen a Nightmare Before Christmas. Nope. I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street.
With me.
Nope.
We have watched it together.
Well, I don't remember that, but I remember watching one in the theater. So it must have been like a whatever is the latest one. I've seen Halloween H2O. I've seen all of the slasher movies I saw were ones that were coming out while I was in high school, and they were revisiting the franchise kind of thing.
If there was a Josh Hartnett in it, you were there.
I was in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, harsh in it. As we were watching this one this time, I knew I'd seen it before. It didn't start off for some reason. The beginning of it feels like it's going to be a different movie. It feels more like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like it's going to be about this couple and then this friend in this town, and then it's like doesn't even care about those people once it gets going.
You always say you need to care about characters, and in horror movies, you need to care about characters because you have to care if they die. And I think in the Friday the 13th, in slashers in general, I feel like the rules are kind of inverted. You want these characters to die because you're rooting for the killer. How do you feel about that? I always feel mixed around. I hardly ever am going. When I am rooting for the killer, it's when I get to follow him more. So like Trap.
So no, I'm not really rooting for Jason, but I also feel bad for him the whole time.
Yeah.
I also feel like I want a different life for him.
Yes. And when we did our Halloween episode last year, I liked how much sympathy you felt for Michael Myers, and then I watched it again and I was like, you're so right. He is a tragic character.
Yes. Well, and I still feel that for him. And then probably most of all, probably Michael, and then I'd go Leatherface, and then I'd go Jason. But of all of them, and I still stand by it, are slasher guys who wear a mask. The mask is to protect them, not to be menacing. But I just think they're scared.
I think that's especially the case with Jason because he has a disfigured face.
Oh,
and
for sure.
And here it's literally just covering up his face with a bag.
No, you're right. Leatherface looks great. He just had to. But yeah. I mean,
whereas Michael is not disfigured. He just wears a mask because he's not human.
He looked perfectly human in the front yard. They don't really explain what would give Jason this face, right? He just fell in a lake. Like,
I think that we are to believe that he had some sort of medical issues before he drowned. I think there are hints, and listen, I love this series, but I'm not saying I remember every detail from the entire series, that he maybe had a mental disability and that he should have been watched more closely.
I got all that. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't expect a disfigured face, and those two things don't necessarily need to go together. So
yep.
When they show his face in this one, it feels like it's supposed to be a big reveal. And I'm just thinking like, that's not nice. Why you guys God, he's got enough going on.
Yeah.
Leave him alone.
It is sad. I feel for Jason. I feel like Jason of the slashers, he's the sweetie. He's doing it because he loves his mother and he's confused. And crucially, he is just protecting his home. All these people are coming onto his turf.
Same for Leatherface. Same for Michael.
Well, but in the Texas Chainsaw sequels, Leatherface is going out into the world to find victims.
Those.
I know. If you're just
non-canonical.
You're right. But yeah, the slashers were just not a thing that you grew up with. They weren't a part of your movie upbringing like they were for me.
Well, and then of course my theory with how these things get written is you're a parent usually by the time you're writing your first movie, maybe. I don't know. That probably isn't true. But the things we fear, the things we write about, I feel like are what we are afraid could happen to us or to the people we love, but just to the extreme. Like your kid could have some kind of disability, and in your head you're thinking this is how the world will see them, this is how they'll be treated, so they will act out, they will do atrocious things because it'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think all horror movies are written from parents' fears and children's fears, is my theory.
All of them.
All.
You won't find a single exception.
I like to just sweep it all up into one broom container.
But if you watch something like The Sixth Sense, even if you never saw ghosts or whatever, you'd still be like, this is a movie about a kid who can't communicate to his mom what's wrong with him.
Yeah. And
it's
a mom being completely beside herself when she can't understand what she knows she's missing. Which you and me, we feel that on an almost daily basis. Just watching our kid give up because something's too hard to explain.
Yeah. That's the thing that the tricky thing with the slasher movies is now you suddenly start to see these killers all are coded as, back then it would have been coded as the R word, and now we see it and we're like, this is
fucked up.
This is fucked up. However, still have fun with it.
Especially when you have a kid who socially is not gelling on the playground, and what kids want to do is go run from the monster. Like, oh, okay, my kid's a monster. That doesn't happen in a long time,
right?
But it did
happen to me when I was a kid. When I was in first grade, the kids formed the Monsters Eat Matthew Club. Oh wait, they were the monsters.
They were the
I
monsters.
wasn't the monster. Okay, you're right. So my history with Friday the 13th is I got super into horror when I'm like a young teen. I watch all the series. Friday the 13th, the only ones I see are the first two, and I start to become a movie snob, and I tut at Friday the 13th because with Halloween, you have the John Carpenter first movie, and you're like, this is a masterpiece of craft from a genuine auteur. Same thing with Nightmare on Elm Street. Same thing with Texas Chainsaw. In the Friday the 13th series, you don't have any like great directors working. It's not until I'm in my 30s that I rediscover this series, watch the whole thing multiple times, and find this is there's some magic here that I find hard to explain. I'm going to try to put it into words in this episode. And it is a lot based on sort of
setting,
place. There's a basic level of craft that goes into all of these movies that are made on a budget, but have just rock solid filmmaking craft. You get very sort of naturalistic actors and earthy actors because you're largely pulling from like New York community theaters and stuff. You're not getting movie star good looks. And I strongly feel like what Chuck Klosterman said about the TV show Roseanne, as like, this show might be studied one day by like cultural archaeologists for this is what the 90s was like. I feel that way about the Friday the 13th series about the 80s, because there were 8 movies that came out in the decade of the 1980s. It was not meant to be a time capsule, but you can track the evolution of the 80s in terms of fashion and cultural attitudes, and it's so interesting to see that way.
Wait, what was the year of this one? Because it still looked very 70s. What
81,
they were wearing.
Yep.
So there you go. So there's still, it takes 5 years to really become your decade.
Exactly. And even like the political attitudes, like in this one, you have the squarest character in the movie, Paul, the one who leads this camp. He's like adversarial with the cops because you still have this sort of lingering anti establishmentism of the 60s and 70s that's going to go away as the course of the 80s goes along, and it becomes Ronald Reagan's America. You see things like that, like cops becoming heroes in this series as the series goes on.
Interesting.
But then the basic stuff, kills, practical effects, get so much mileage out of the setting. This one is directed by Steve Miner. I think he's the most notable director in the series because he went on to make mainstream Hollywood movies like Lake Placid, and Forever Young and Big Bully, and I think it's the best directed movie of the series. I think it has my favorite final girl, and I just think it's the platonic ideal of this kind of movie, so that's why I picked it, and that's why we're going to talk about it. Okay. Well,
what do you want me to do about it?
Did you like it?
Oh my God, Matt, just go.
Okay.
I'll figure it out at the end.
It out at the end. So the history of the series, and because this is a series with such a huge fan base and there's so much available about this series, there's a 4-hour documentary called Crystal Lake Memories, there's tons of books and stuff. I am not going to do a comprehensive history here because it would take forever, and because I want to do something else. I don't know what that something will be. I don't know if I'm going to make videos about each movie. If one day I'll do a podcast, we talk about doing a Patreon and maybe launching little bonus mini series. I don't know. I'm going to save my comprehensive history. I'm just going to give a tidy little summary right here. So this all starts with Sean S. Cunningham, and he was a producer-director of independent films in the 70s. He co-produced Wes Craven's movie The Last House on the Left in 1972, which was this huge like underground sensation exploitation movie. And in the book...
Exploitation movie. Because there's naked women?
Partially. We talked about...
murder porn?
Partially. We talked about this in our Mad Max episode. The idea with exploitation is, though, it's the audience that's getting exploited because they're paying for boobies and blood and ultimately not really getting that. But that's like the selling point. And there's in this movie, like you have the very gratuitous shot of the woman's butt.
Okay.
Like the camera just framing it, just mid-frame.
This not the movie you have on the screen.
Yeah, so Friday the 13th too. And you're like, there's nothing else like this shot in the movie of just ogling a woman's ass. Yeah, it's like,
is this Porky's? What the fuck is weird?
Right, and it's like, but that's the lineage of these movies, is exploitation movies. Is we got to titillate the audience. We got to give them a little something like this. So there's a book called Crystal Lake Memories by Peter Brack from 2006, and Sean Cunningham has this quote in it, quote, Wes Craven, and I made a lot of money from Last House on the Left, especially considering that he had been driving a cab and I was working in a theater. But my career wasn't progressing at that point. Last House became a double-edged sword. Since it was very cheap and exploitative and successful at its own level, all people thought of me was, if you want to get puke in a bucket and get it cheap, boy, I've got just the guy for you. In terms of film politics and possibilities, Last House is important, but it is very, very hard to watch. It's not a fun movie at any level. And boy, did I not want to make Last House on the Left Part 2 or Part 3. Wes and I were also striking off in slightly different directions. I was trying to do documentary films and commercials. Steve Miner had just been working for me, and he was trying to cut some NHL film. We were all just learning. End quote. So Sean Cunningham's like the leader of this little band of people that include Steve Miner, who's the director of this movie, and their friend Victor Miller. And it's not like they set out to make horror movies. They just want to work in the industry, and they catch a wave, a horror wave.
Right.
Cunningham ends up directing like some independent comedies and family movies in the 70s that don't go anywhere. Movies like Here Come the Tigers and Manny's Orphans. But in 1978, something happens, and that something is Halloween. And it is an enormous hit, produced independently, most profitable independent movie of all time at the time. And it spurs a series of imitators, slasher movies centered on holidays or occasions, like My Bloody Valentine, like Prom Night, Chopping Mall, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Final Exam, Mother's Day, and into that environment, Sean Cunningham and his pals say, let's make a movie. And what they do is they start writing a script called A Long Night at Camp Blood. Yes.
What is the history of Friday the 13th being an issue, being a thing?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Like just the idea of Friday the 13th?
Yeah. Is it this series? And also...
Oh, no.
And also, isn't it kind of like a misnomer because they never say Friday the 13th in any of the movies?
They do say it in the first one, but... In the first, that was something that they added in the second draft of this. This is a gimmick we can add to it, and an easy way to sell the movie, because we have all these movies that are just the hook is this is Mother's Day killer. He kills on Mother's Day. The Friday the 13th killer. Friday the 13th. The idea is so unnecessary and so unimportant.
Right. It's just like just don't go to his campground, everybody.
But it's not like that even continues throughout the series.
Well, how would I know?
I know, but it's like in the first movie, and I think it might even be ADR, as the cop says like, of course this happens on Friday the 13th. And then you see him start to talk and he's like, plus it's a full moon. And there's so many shots of the full moon that I wondered, was the original idea is he's the full moon killer?
Okay.
Or she's the full moon killer?
Sure.
I don't have an answer to that, but they came up with the Friday the 13th gimmick at the script stage, and they took out an ad in Variety saying, we are producing a movie called Friday the 13th, and it's going to be the scariest movie you've ever fucking seen. And they have this logo that they end up using in the movie.
Yeah, it's breaking through the window. It's coming at you.
Exactly.
Matt, you just Googled something and then did nothing with it. What are you doing?
I wanted to show you this logo.
I saw it.
Friday the 13th is considered an unlucky day in Western superstition. The unluckiness of 13 from Norse myth about 12 gods having a dinner party in Valhalla. Christian association, Jesus' Last Supper and crucifixion, which 13 individuals present. While there is evidence of both Friday and the number 13 being considered unlucky, I guess because Jesus was crucified on a Friday. There's no record of the two items being referred to as especially unlucky in conjunction before the 19th century. Some cite the arrest of the Knights Templar. This seems like a thing where there's not an easy origin. It's a thing that accumulates over time. I'm
remembering now some like really shit Learning Channel thing I watched about the Knights Templar, and I think they definitely claim that is where Friday the 13th comes from. I remember that being a thing.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I never occurred to me that Friday is considered unlucky, but I guess the Jesus.
There's just something sexy about it being on the beginning of the weekend. I don't know. It's like Friday.
Something about Friday.
Yeah.
You got to get down on Friday. Is what I'm always saying.
I know it.
So this ad is a hit, generates a lot of buzz, and they end up getting some independent financing, $550,000. Go make this movie in the woods with basically amateur actors. The only actor who's a professional is Betsy Palmer, who plays Mrs. Voorhees, and she's like a soap actress from the 50s. Mm-hmm. And when she enters the movie and she talks like a 50s actress, it is kind of drunk. She's like, well, I'm Mrs. Voorhees, and what are you doing here, young lady? Although that just makes it all the spookier. But they make the movie. Paramount ends up picking it up to distribute it, and it's an enormous hit, $60 million.
Dang.
So there has to be a sequel, but Sean Cunningham did not want to be involved in a sequel, and I don't think he's even involved as a producer of this movie. So his protege Steve Miner ends up directing it. They were wondering what do we even do? Some of the producers were like, well, it has to be Jason. It has to be Jason. Cunningham didn't. I think he disagreed. He wanted to just do something else with the Friday the 13th concept.
Like just keep making an unlucky thing happen on that day.
Yes. John Carpenter wanted to do a similar thing with Halloween, which they ended up doing with Halloween 3, which doesn't have Michael Myers in it. And the idea is like it's sort of an anthology series. Every movie is going to have a different thing happening on Halloween. Instead, they just do the first movie over again.
Yeah.
But that's the charm. It's like punk rock, you know? You only have your 3 chords, but what order do you put them in and what do you do with them? That's the charm.
And that's why it's comforting to you is the place setting.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that
makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why Scream is comforting to me. It's always going to be some sort of educational institution. It's always going to be in way too big houses for these people who don't seem wealthy, but I guess they're wealthy. I don't know. Just big, nice white people houses in some sort of campus.
And with Scream, you have the whodunit element, which I think you like a lot.
I love.
That is the fun part of Scream, and especially you just forget who the killers are when you go visit them again. You're like, what is it? I think it's that girl? No.
Because they give you, because they do the thing where it's like, wait, no, it's that, because you're guessing the whole time and you forget.
And we saw that guy die, but did we really see him die? Steve Miner.
I can clock those kind of deaths. Psh, don't worry.
Steve Miner, like I said, is probably the most successful of the Friday the 13th directors. He directed Friday the 13th 2 and 3, and then directed a Mel Gibson movie called Forever Young. He directed Halloween H2O, and he directed one of our beloved movies, Lake Placid. The Friday series, again, has 8 movies that come out in the 80s. Wonderful time capsule of the 80s. I believe it should have ended in the 80s, but the series declined in popularity as the decade went on, and Paramount sold the rights to New Line Cinema, who made Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday in 1993, which was supposed to launch a Jason and Freddy Krueger crossover series. That didn't really happen. It took 10 years to get a Freddy versus Jason movie, and that was the end of that. Jason X came out in 2002, and it was remade. Friday the 13th was remade in 2009, and since then, there's been weird rights issues. There was a lawsuit with Victor Miller, the screenwriter for the original movie, and I believe there is still a TV show for Peacock in development about Crystal Lake during Mrs. Voorhees' day.
Oh.
And to that I say, I don't care. Because for me, the appeal is the 80s.
Fine. I also just don't want to look into the negligence of people who allowed a little disabled boy to fucking drown. I'm glad we didn't see that part. It's enough that she describes it.
That's a good point. I mean,
I don't need to see Jason.
Seeing it, gets you on her side and makes you understand why she's doing all this stuff.
That's fine, but I'm already kind of on her side. Yeah. I'm already hurting.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the history of the Friday the 13th series and Friday the 13th Part 2, and we will now discuss Friday the 13th Part 2. So, all of these movies start with a very long previously on Friday the 13th sequence, which I think is very helpful.
I mean, I learned a lot.
Yeah. And our final girl from the first movie, Alice, played by Adrienne King, is having a nightmare where she's just reliving the movie.
The whole thing.
The earlier movie.
A very horny nightmare in a very covered up jumper. Outfit.
Horny night. What's horny about it?
Well, I mean, because you only have a few sounds as a human, and so she's making her sex sounds because she's scared and because she's writhing on a bed with her eyes closed. It's just a hard thing to ask an actress to do. A young lady. Have a nightmare on this bed. Oh, like this? Oh, stop it, no! That just sound like I'm having sex. Alone.
Maybe it's a commentary on how sex in a way is kind of murder, and there's like sex in your violence and violence in your sex.
Okay.
This is weird because we start off with Jason coming into this suburban street. This is, I think, the only time in the series where Jason
leaves the lake.
Yeah, leaves and seems to be like calculating enough to be able to do this and taking it personally. But he did see this woman kill his mom. But this is not something the series does again. Yes.
Don't you just think it's because they allowed her to stay alive because the movie maybe thought it was going to do something with a part 2 with her that they just had to kill her off? Don't you think it's just like they just had to tie up a loose end?
I believe, in fact, that this was done in reshoots. That this sequence wasn't part of the movie at all at first.
Right, because they made a whole movie and they're like, wait, what about that girl we left alive?
Yeah.
Shit. Couldn't you just be a weird town person? Don't go in there.
I guess.
Don't do it.
She has PTSD from what she survived. She is expressing herself through art. In the first movie, we do find out that she is an artist. And I think there's a really effective sequence of just the camera doing a lot of crazy POV stuff that this movie otherwise doesn't do much of following her around the house and faking you out.
Yeah.
And all of this movie and the first movie are very much referencing Psycho, both in visuals and especially the score.
And shower curtain.
Yes. And so literally has her shower curtain, but she just pulls it open and looks at you directly at you. But Jason, the killer, isn't there. But what do you think about this opening sequence?
It feels like a trailer for a different movie or something. I'm not a trailer, but the rest of the movie, you forget it even happened. But you said that all of them do that, so I think that's kind of cute that it's got a thing. It's just like how every Bond movie opens with all the scenes you're going to see in the movie. Like, I think it's okay
that's Mission Impossible.
That's what I said. So I think it's okay that if that's its thing, then I think it becomes like a cute thing you're looking forward to, rather than me watching it like, what are they fucking doing right now? It's got such a short runtime. They're spending 10 minutes on the other movie.
But like, okay, yes, that part.
But you're asking me, is it filmed beautifully?
Do you find it effective as a horror sequence?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I definitely feel Halloween in it, with the breathing, with the way that it tracks around the outside of the house, with the slow movements within the house, the paranoid, alone woman who's kind of mature for her age, vulnerable woman, short hair. Just felt Halloween to me.
Scream movies often open with a character who you're not going to see who dies.
But Scream is doing it as a nod to this.
I don't even know that this originated it, but yeah, these are just the tropes of the genre. You start off with a kill.
Well, and Scream is all about genre tropes, and like it celebrates them. So yeah, of course I thought of Scream. The phone call, the obscene phone call that follows it, right? Like you have a normal phone call and then there's a weird one. And then that's the start of the terror.
Or you have the obscene phone call and then you have a normal one. You're like, listen, screwball, don't you? Sorry, Mom.
Right.
Well, he kills her. And then we get the incredible logo and the opening credits. That's another part of these movies, is fun opening credit sequences with the most of that year sound. Whatever year it is. And then we pick back up in Hicktown in Blair, New Jersey. And we meet this horny couple who seem...
Man, are they horny.
They're just very into each other. They want to call their friend Ted, but while they're calling him from a phone booth, their truck gets towed. But it's just a prank orchestrated by...
It's a funny gag by Ted.
There's always a goof character like Ted in these movies. But Ted in this movie, I'd say he's the most likable.
Yeah.
He's the least malevolent. But it is weird that all these movies have to have a practical jokester who's always like putting on the killer mask and being like, I'm the killer. And they're like, oh, Shelley, you piece of shit.
He's so much more innocent than that, though. And he's just goofy. He just likes to do his job. Also, he lives. I didn't realize in this movie there's a whole truckload of people who live.
Yes, I know. There's like a B unit. And it's like, are they saving these guys for the sequel? No.
I like it. I like you just focus on, because there are definitely movies that come later where it's about the number of body count. But this one just like, let me just take my time with the people who've been the most annoying this time. Mm-hmm. Or the people who've been the most focused on fucking.
They have their little encounter with Crazy Ralph.
Don't worry, Ralph's going to die real soon.
Yeah, that is a mistake. Crazy Ralph should be in all of these movies. They find a way.
Like Pet Sematary. Oh, I wouldn't go down there, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. It's doomed. Camp Blood is doomed. They find ways to bring him. I mean, there's a later movie that opens with the montage of Previously on Friday the 13th, but it's narrated by Crazy Ralph, who is at that point dead. Previously on Friday the 13th. Yeah, they're going off to this camp, which is a camp counselor training center.
Right. Are they also going to have the camp there? That's unclear.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're all going to disperse to their other camps.
Well, and then the cop is like, look, I think it's really nice what you're doing with all these kids. What kids? These young adults?
Yeah, it's a good point. Or
you're about to have a camp here with all our kids, with these young adults.
Yeah, unclear.
It's unclear.
And they go to well, we just get our exposition out of the way here. There's always some characters who know about Camp Blood and Camp Crystal Lake and the murders that happened 5 years ago, and some who don't. What are you talking about? Camp Crystal Lake? You haven't heard of it? But they are going to Camp Packanack, which is run by Paul, who's kind of macho and takes the whole thing very seriously.
He's macho? No,
they describe him as macho.
He's a panty waist.
And I was wondering, I'm sure Packanack is like a real thing in the fucking Adirondacks or whatever, but
I'm sure it's a Native American tribe.
Yes,
or something, right?
Yes, it also sounds like that. But I was just wondering, is this a Yogi Bear picnic basket joke? So the camp, Paul, he's leading an orientation. We meet our main group of trainees. There's Mickey Mouse shirt woman. I believe her name is Terry. She likes to wear very little. That's the other thing about this movie is you get to see 80s fashion. You get to see like late 70s. Early 80s fashion 70s. Where the whole idea was wear as little as possible to cover your dick or pussy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
We meet Vicky, a girl whose entire character is I want to fuck Mark, the guy in the wheelchair. And Paul gives a big speech and he's like, contrary to what you might have heard, bears are very dangerous. And we're in bear country. So women, if you're menstruating...
Keep it clean down there.
Keep it clean.
Fuck did we? Oh, I really wanted to bleed out on this one. No, I wanted to make a trail back to the cabin. The fuck does he think we're doing down there?
He also tells the women not to wear perfume, and Vicky rolls her eyes. Later, we will see she sprays perfume all over herself,
especially her period crotch.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, because it's going to be the woman's fault when a bear comes. God, there's a lot of mansplaining in this fucking movie. I mean, it makes sense for the time, but Paul is like, he is not my favorite.
No.
He does not deserve Jenny. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, Jenny arrives. She is our hero, Jenny, played by Amy Steele, and I think she is the best final girl in the series. And look, I just find her very appealing. I don't know.
I like her. She grows on me. Yeah. She's the best thing about the movie.
So she arrives.
I'd like her to have a bra.
Yeah, Lacey's complaining a lot about the lack of bras in the movie.
Oh, boy.
Paul is giving his speech, but then he's like, oh, Jenny, Jesus Christ. And he has to leave his speech and leave everybody
fucking
hanging.
Jenny.
Go talk to her. And she's like, listen, Paul, I came late. Now let's kiss already. So he goes back and he gives his speech and he's like, folks, what we're doing here is back to basics counseloring. You know, survival, first aid, boating, archery, all of it.
Sounds like important work. It basically is just like, what is an excuse to get a bunch of age where it's okay to fuck people into this campground area? Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so now they, just a lot of bonding experiences that they're going to show you just to we got to start to fall in love with some people, get some lore, get some vibe. And Paul gets them all around the campfire. May I just say, why don't their marshmallows ever catch on fire or cook? They have them on the fire for the entire fucking time. Anyway, and he's like, look, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about Jason. So this is what he did. And it's like building up. It's like, what could this be doing? He really needed to cut that about 90 seconds shorter, because then Goofball comes out of the woods and hoolah! Scares everybody, because no, we don't take this seriously, that lots of people were killed here. And now we're on their burial ground. Yeah,
what the various people in the movie believe about Jason or his mom or the camp, it's kind of just amorphous. It's whatever the plot calls for.
Yeah, it's unclear. It doesn't seem like there was like a big article in the paper about like the individual murders that happened. It seems to be just about the mom and the boy. It's like if this actually happened, I would think, oh, Camp Crystal Lake, where there was a 7-person massacre. I don't remember what the count is, but it's like, oh, where lots of young people died. But it's like, no, that boy and his mom. Like, who gives a shit?
They compress it. They're like, we're the boy and his mom. And then years later, 7 people also died. Yeah, if this really happened, yeah, this would not right. This would be like a tourist destination for murder seekers.
Yes.
Especially like, wait a minute, attractive teens died? Attractive white teens?
Right. It would be all about that. It's all about the innocence. It's all about your kids going away when they're first able to do it. It's just like when your kids first learn to walk and you see their brains and you're like, you should not be able to walk being that stupid. But then then they're able to drive and you're like, you should not be able to drive with that brain.
Yep.
Or fuck with that fucking brain or any of it.
And you shouldn't, but
but you do it.
That's the way God designed us,
So, it's every mom's worst fear, or whoever, dad too, I guess. You send your kid off to camp or they get their first job or they're backpacking with their boyfriend or whatever and they die. So, yeah, that would be the news. Not mom loses track of son, he drowns. Whatever the hell.
Right. Does sitting around a campfire and telling a spooky story appeal to you?
There are indoor bathrooms, so yes.
Okay. I was watching a slasher movie called Madman that starts off with an extended spooky campfire sequence of a person telling a scary story. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time where I ever thought, this looks a little appealing, I guess.
There's plenty of indoor facilities and activities, and I love that we get to see what they do all day. Like when I know someone's not, this may be one of the only movies where there's not a TV present, and I don't worry they're going to be bored. I get real worried. I am kind of confused about the layout, like how many cabins are there, because Jenny's cabin seems to be really fucking far away from everybody else's because she runs for like 20 minutes at the end and gets to her cabin somehow. Anyway, this is people start pairing off. We're going to see who's going to be into who and whatever. And then we get confirmation. Yes, Paul and Jenny are a thing because they start making out deeply. And then she breaks the news to him that she's got her period like a disgusting bitch.
She says there's something you should know. And then Crazy Ralph is outside and we think it's Jason, but it's actually Crazy Ralph. But we hear the pop. And the thing with these movies is, at least these early movies, when you hear that,
you better fear that.
They only play it when the killer's actually there.
Right.
So you think it's a misdirect, but it's not because the killer is also there. Jason's also there. He garrots Crazy Ralph. We never hear what Jenny was going to tell Paul, but then we have the Friday the 13th staple, which is a fade to white, a very, very kind of surreal feeling fade to white. Mm-hmm. And she wakes up the next morning and Paul is gone, but on her mirror in lipstick is written "Beware of Bears."
And to that I say, you know how much lipstick costs, Paul? That's really a dick move. Beware of bears. Think of something other than your dick. And he's already made fun of her for, I guess your child psychology is really going to come in handy. And it's like she goes to college, my guy, and she's making
graduate school.
She's making time for your stupid camp counselor thing that is surely not just an excuse for you to see the youngest possible legal adults in the smallest amount of clothing. No, you're doing it for the children, Paul. Yes. And now you're mad at Jenny because she's late. She was stuck in traffic coming back from graduate school. And then you're going to make fun of her for going to college or minimizing it. Then you try to fuck and she can't. Now she's bringing bears upon her house. Mm-hmm. I don't like Paul.
I don't like Paul either, but I do like the movie having, I think this is kind of a clever little, like you might miss it the first time, or at least me as a non-menstruating person. It took me a few times watching the movie, like, oh, she's on her period. Okay. That's funny. But we're a very serious podcast. We ask the big questions. We take this shit really seriously. We look really deeply into movies. And I have to ask you, Laci, what kind of sexual activity do you think they did? Because I don't think
nothing.
I think
he probably got a blowjob.
I think Paul's too uptight for period sex.
Oh, yeah.
So what I think would happen is she gave him a very quick hand job and then he immediately fell asleep.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I'm so glad we covered all those bases though.
So, do we have anything else to say about this scene?
No, my God. You gave me 2 pictures of it.
I love that this is the only one of the Friday the 13th movies where usually there's like an camp counselor feud. There's an asshole, but in this movie they all like each other. They're all nice friends. You pointed
that out, and I do really enjoy that too because I don't need it. I don't like. It's good enough that there's just a big group of people and they're trying to figure things out and they don't know each other, get to know each other. And they're all going to die soon. That's enough.
Yes, and it's just kind of nice and fun, and I like I've said before, I if you removed the killings and stuff, I would still enjoy these movies just as like pleasant vibes. Mm-hmm. And this is the one where they're all just having fun, enjoying each other's company, getting horny for each other, having nice, enthusiastic, consensual sex, and then runs. They're just running and jogging together, and they're all, they're doing a good job. I like Ted barbecuing hot dogs, and he announces, "Come and get them," and Jeff, standing right there, says, "I'm here."
Yeah, I like that one too.
But Jeff, he's the one with the girlfriend. Her name is
Boobs.
No, it's not Boobs. God damn it. What is it? It's Sandra. Jeff and Sandra. And she keeps saying, "I want to go see Camp Blood. I want to go see Camp Blood."
Like, come on, man. The women really do like bring the trouble to the camp. She's so fascinating. I just really, come on, man. Let's just go see the blood.
The nunnery in Covington, Louisiana, which was a place that teenagers went, this haunted old closed place that nuns used to be,
where they hatched,
where an aviary sort of for nuns. And this woman who was my friend,
she was 37.
Kept saying, "I want you to take me to the nunnery," and I was like,
"Take me there,"
but I'm scared.
Take me there, Matt.
And it was this kind of I was like, why does freaking ladies have a bug up their ass for going to scary places?
Because guys are not interesting otherwise. Like, if he had just been like a more like, let's have some interesting stuff to do and talk about some stuff, she wouldn't need to spice things up. Okay. Have I ever asked you to take me to the nunnery? No, you're spicy as hell.
Okay, thank you. That's nice.
You just didn't used to be.
You don't.
For that woman, the 37-year-old woman.
Yes, for the 37. She says, "Come on, when we get back to the city, we can tell everybody we did it."
Who's going to know about this? You didn't even know this existed till you got there. You picked up the sign of the thing you become infatuated with. Don't keep it. Like, hello, keep that sign. That's collectible.
Also, Muffin the dog encounters Jason, but Jason does not harm it. Although in the next scene, they find a dead dog.
Well, a dead something. I think it's a dog. We don't know it's a dog.
And that's why in the fan community, there's theories about this movie. Like the whole like 20 minutes at the end of the movie is a dream sequence or whatever.
Of who?
Dumb. Of Jenny, I guess. Because at the end, Muffin comes back, but we maybe see early in the movie that Muffin's dead. Anyway, they go swimming. Yeah. This is in the entire series. We've talked on this program before about how we think lakes are creepy. Mm-hmm. This is the only sequence in the entire series where I think they make the lake look like an appealing place to go swimming. And I think it's just because
all the buoys, all the
little floating rafts and stuff. And I think it's just these guys, they're having fun and they like each other.
Having fun, yeah.
I've always been obsessed with when Sandra is begging Paul to go to Camp Blood, the way that she kind of sways around looks like she has to pee. And I'm sure now,
childlike.
Now that I'm playing it for you, you say, "No, what are you talking about? That's totally normal." But she keeps swaying around.
She seems really antsy. And like the rule in acting is like plant your feet, and she's just not a good actress yet. I mean, but it's believable. She's got ants in her pants. What? They
go off to find Camp Crystal Lake. It's important to me that I track all these characters' names. Sandra and Jeff.
Ralph
is crazy. Jeff is just this guy. And Jason stalks them, and we think they're going to get caught by Jason, but actually it's a cop.
Stupid cop. Man, there are some long chase scenes in this movie. Like, they just footage of going through the different woods, over the puddle, some very realistic stopping to rest, getting up and running again. I mean, it's just like they just had these actors like, okay, just run. We're just going to film all this. We'll use it however, because it's never two actors in the same frame. They're just individually running, right? So it's like, we just need everyone. We're not sure who's going to run in this, but if everyone could run through this stretch of the woods, make it a point to jump over this puddle, it's going to be a thing. That's how it's going to connect everything.
And it does successfully. It's good. It lays out the geography. It's like, oh, I'll remember this later when they're getting chased by the killer.
I mean, I have gone down at the house I lived in Bush. That man's mom lived in the house next door, which meant she's like a half mile away, but there's a trail through the woods to her house. Trail means like slight dirt path you can see. And I just hated when they'd ask me to cut to like they were like, my mom and stepdad were already over there. Just bring your brother, go through the trail. No, I don't know. So, I mean, it's effective in that, like, any walk, even when you and our kid go to the woods, that's barely the woods next to our house, it's creepy. You don't know what's going to get you.
I like woods.
All right.
Is that the origin of your hatred of the outdoors? Because I like the outdoors. I want to do more outdoor things, but you don't want to. You're stopping me.
What are you talking about? I don't like daytime outdoors. I like camping.
You do
in
not.
a cabin. Yes, I do. What are you talking about? I just don't want to go fucking whitewater rafting wherever the hell.
Do you want to go horseback riding?
No, I've told you I'm scared of horses. They're very tall.
Do you want to go scuba diving?
No, I don't like how deep it is.
Yeah, see? These are things I want to do. I want to go. You'll never let me scuba dive.
If me and you
never let me ride a horse.
Wait, like under the water or like snorkel?
Scuba diving.
I'm not doing that. And it takes a lot of training. When are you going to have time to train like that?
I don't know. I'll figure it out.
You're not going to do it.
See what she does to me? So the cop, he takes them back to Paul, and Paul's being weird and like, whatever,
weird.
Keystone Cop, you don't boss me around.
It makes it seem like they've had interactions before, because why are they on such shitty? Why is he won't even look at him?
It's weird. It doesn't track with what we know about Paul as this serious, like the adult in the room, but
it's missing a scene. Yeah, I don't think this is a great edit because it feels like it doesn't feel like it's telling us something. It feels like we're missing something.
So the cop's like, listen to you, bucko. One day I'm going to get a warrant and arrest you all for having your kids go messing around with things they don't understand. I like that in this series, Jason is just a problem that nobody knows how to deal with. And so society's attitude is like, just leave him alone. Don't go over there. We don't bother him. He doesn't bother us.
Well, I don't take it as that. I don't take it as they have any confirmation of Jason actually existing. It's just like a really tragic thing happened to this very, very tiny town. And there's been several years of quiet, meaning no one else has like beat their wife or raped anyone. Like, like we had something horrific happen here. Everyone be on their best behavior or we're all going to flip out. That's how I take it. Like, look, things have calmed down finally. I don't need you guys stirring it up and making people remember. Just like the Valentine's Day dance 20 years after the big coal mine thing in My Bloody Valentine's. Like, why do let's just leave it? Like, I'm very fascinated and have a big heart for whole communities that get traumatized at once. I find that very interesting.
I agree with your assessment. That is what's going on here. As the series goes on and Jason becomes a presence and a fact of life that they have to deal with, that is their attitude. But you're right. Right here, it's like, why? We don't have to be thinking about all this. Listen, why even build something over there? Yeah. So the cop thinks he sees Jason, starts chasing after him, but Jason chases him and then puts a pickaxe in his head. If there's a complaint I have about this movie, is that I don't think the kills are great. Tom Savini, the great makeup artist, was on the first movie, but not on this one. But they're fine. Yeah, they're fine. The kids all go out for a night on the town.
Best bar I've ever seen in my life.
It is a happening bar for such a
the
remote
entire
location.
Populace has to be there. Children too. It's so big. It's like, is this Texarkana? Is it like this is the point where it's the least amount to travel for 3 towns worth of people, and it's the one bar they all share. That's how they're Shelbyville and fucking Simpsons Land or whatever it's called. It's like Springfield. It's like how are there's not this many people here. And a casino? That's what makes me think it's like something to do with Native American.
I think it's like the gas station that says it's a casino when it's like they have a video poker machine.
I know, but maybe
you might be right, Lacey. Yeah. I like the I think that the dialogue is kind of naturalistic. I think this movie's a slice of life, but it was annoying you. Like when Ginny and Paul are driving, Paul says, "Now I know how you can afford tuition to grad school. You always find some fool to fix your car and buy you a beer."
No.
And Ginny laughs and says, "You got it."
No. The movie's dialogue isn't bothering me. I hate Paul. He's giving her nothing. He's not even cute. I hate that Ginny's with this fucking boring bozo, and they take their own separate car, and there's no one in the backseat to entertain Ginny or talk to her. It's just, I'm Paul. You're on your period. And then she tries to have like a serious conversation or talk at all at the bar, and he's like, "Look, get a load of this period."
Yeah, because she's trying to explain, like, I think Jason might be real, and I think it tracks with what I've learned about psychology. He suffered a trauma, and now he's like forever haunted by the memory of his dead mother or whatever.
Yeah.
And Paul's like, she's talking woman talk over there.
Am I right? Keep collecting those beer bottles, dude. Neat.
Back at the camp, they've left several of the characters who are all going to get killed in the meantime. Terry goes naked swimming. We always have to have naked swimming in this movie.
And in Jaws.
And she has her clothes stolen not by Jason, but by Scott, who's a pervert. But then he gets caught in a rope trap. And then Jason kills him with a machete. Oh, and then Terry comes back and she finds him hanging dead. And then she too is killed.
You don't want to survive that.
Meanwhile, Vicky is the girl who has a hardcore crush on Mark, who is this guy who's in a wheelchair, but he's like super
buff. He's in training.
I'm in training.
I'm going to get out of this chair. Is it training to get out of the chair? They don't say.
Don't say.
Is it arm wrestling training?
Yes, he's arm wrestling champion.
Gonna go arm wrestle Sylvester Stallone.
She is in a way that I think is very sweet. She is like, I want to fuck you. I'm going to be as non-subtle as I can.
Yes.
I mean, she's like, they're hanging out, and she's and
for position.
Yeah, she's like, I only want your fingers. He's like, huh? And she pulls out these little handheld electronic games, football or hockey, take your pick. And he's like, well, which one do you want? She says, I want the one with the puck. And she's like, what are we playing for? Yeah, she's like, position.
That's what it's just like, okay, ma'am, either he's gonna bite or he's not. But then he still seems surprised when she kisses. I'm like, what? I don't know.
I don't think he's surprised. Eventually she moves in, she starts kissing, and they're both kind of smiling, and then she's just like, want to stay together tonight? And he said, I was just gonna ask you. They're both excited. See, it's
that's
nice.
Sweet. And that's one thing that really sucks about this movie is they never get to just like go cuddle. I wanted that for them.
Yes.
I did. Until I realized she has no butt. And then I'm like, you know what? You could do better.
A lot of people don't have butts, Lacey. And they don't deserve to die. I love
that she's wearing cute black underwear and then she pulls out shit brown underwear and she's like, yeah.
I know. She's so
the ticket.
Pleased with herself. Is the idea that, I don't know.
That was a sexy color. Brown was very in the 70s. And
really?
80s. Yeah.
Really?
That's
interesting.
All furniture, wallpaper, freaking dining sets, they're all brown.
Isn't it weird that like colors like go in and out of fashion?
It is.
It's kind of weird when you think about it. Yeah, she's like, well, just let me go get my boobs ready. I'll be back. She goes off, sprays perfume on her vagina.
On everything. It's like she stinks to high hell.
Meanwhile, Jason comes and kills Mark in the wheelchair, goes and kills the lovebirds who are fucking. He puts a harpoon through both of them. And then Vicky comes back in her brown panties and she's like, Mark, it's time to get raw. And then she goes up into the bedroom where she thinks Sandra and fucking the guy are.
Paul.
And then Jason jumps up out of the bed. This is the first time we've seen Jason front on in the movie. He's wearing a bag over his head and he kills her. Kills her good. Kills her with a butcher knife. And then finally Ginny and Paul come back and they go into the cabin and like, there's been a ruckus.
Oh no, they wouldn't have left all this stuff out like they were mid-gaming and then just went to bed.
Ginny keeps saying, Paul, they wouldn't have left it like this.
She's so sure of their character.
She goes up, they look in the bed, they see a bloody bed. She's like, what the fuck?
With
and then Jason attacks.
No. They see the bloody bed and then they go downstairs and she's like, I don't feel good about this. Like, no shit. No, they still have a whole like walk to another cabin.
That's not true. He attacks here. She's like, Paul, someone's in the room with us, Paul.
Right, but but that's after they go downstairs, and while they're going down the stairs, they're like, "This is off. This is like, yeah, bloody blood bed.
There's blood everywhere. This is not normal."
No, definitely period. Yeah. Someone had sex. See, this is why we don't have period sex, Jenny. Disgusting.
That's what Paul thinks. That's what I said.
That is what I said.
Okay,
that is what I said.
Just want to be clear.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's someone in the room. Yeah, there's a very creepy thing to say. There's someone in the room with us, Paul. Like, get him out.
Jason attacks. Then he jumps up and chases Ginny around. She gets into her car, but it won't start. Chekhov's car. The score is going psychoing out of control, and she hides through the woods we know so well. Eventually goes into a cabin, goes under a bed. Jason, for some reason, doesn't look under the bed, but then a rat comes and scares Ginny, and she pees. Jason sees the pee and then lays a trap for her, but he falls on a chair. And then she runs away again. She runs and stumbles upon Jason's cabin, where he has the decapitated head of his mother in a little shrine and has her famous blue sweater.
It is gray. It's khaki.
It was blue back in the day.
Okay.
And Jason breaks in and doing some quick thinking and leaning on the voodoo psychology she learned. She puts on Jason's mom's sweater and pretends to be Jason's mom. Jason, mother is talking to you, Jason. And it almost works. She's about to, kill him with a machete. But then Jason sees the head of his mom and realizes, wait, this is not my mother.
Yeah. Oh.
But Paul, the hero, comes back and he, distracts Jason long enough for Ginny to do a slow motion machete slice into Jason's head. And then she pulls the bag from his head so that she can see what he looks like, but we don't see it. And is all is good now, right? Well, they retreat back to their cabin, and then they hear some noise, and they're like, uh-oh, it's Jason coming back. But no, it's just Muffin.
That is some of the best acting in the movie, is the way that Ginny acts and the way that he's kind of consoling her as they are coming back from this horrific thing that happened. You don't often get to see characters in these movies like deal with what they think is the end of a really traumatic experience, and then they're just kind of like dealing with being human and being completely freaked out.
Yeah.
But then they get right back into it. Right
back into it, because it is now following the end of the first movie beat for beat, the calm, serene thing, and then slow motion Jason jumps through the window. Now he's not wearing his mask, grabs her, but then we have the fade to white, and it's the next morning, and Ginny is being taken off to the hospital. There's no sign of Jason or Paul, and she's like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. And that's the movie.
Well, because they all have to end with the last girl getting killed in the beginning of the next movie.
Not the case with her. No, she doesn't return to the series, unfortunately. Oh. She's a very good actress. She worked in TV and stuff. She then seems like she left acting behind to become a psychologist, just like in the movie. But her acting credits are all like Friday the 13th fan films and stuff. And the thing about this series, and like why these franchises are so great, is like everybody who plays a character in this movie like makes a decent living doing the con circuit.
Yeah.
And you can appear in like all the Final Girls team up in these fan films, and I don't know, it's a sweet world.
That is nice. Yeah, I like it.
The horror fan community.
Those genre people need to stick together. Jamie Lee Curtis is the leader of us all.
Well, they probably think Jamie Lee Curtis is like, she's too good for us.
I'm sure that she would write them a letter.
She says the right things. She thanked them in her Oscar speech.
Matt, I know.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry that you know that.
Here he comes again with that one.
So what are your final thoughts? What are your final thoughts and star rating for Friday the 13th Part 2?
I'm sure this would be my favorite of all of them. I definitely get what you're saying. There is something cozy about it. I love the camp setting. I love that Scream can give us lots of relationships and good dialogue and people to care about and complicated relationships. And I wish that back then they could have done that for this too. So, I mean, I think the writing is bad.
Boy, I don't agree with that. You're saying it just doesn't have like the Kevin Williamson quick-witted, like everybody's talking like a movie character. What I like about these movies is that you feel like you're watching a documentary about real people just saying boring shit.
I just want more for Jenny, I guess. But I like the realistic parts too, like just the run, how very not extra special in their like athletic abilities. Like it really looks like two people going at each other, just regular people.
Yeah,
I like all that. I'm gonna go with a 3. Okay. I knew you wouldn't get mad at me for a 3.
What's your real rating?
A 3.
Okay.
I'm not gonna watch it again, probably, but I get why you like it. I also understand why it's not my thing. It just isn't.
Well, you take a movie like Halloween, which is basically the height of achievement of this genre, And, you know, I call that a 5-star movie. And like, so what is this then? I think this is aiming a little lower.
Yeah.
But I think it's an exemplary example. It's an example. It is just, it does exactly what it sets out to do with top-notch craft. And I know that I have a specific thing that I like that this movie is delivering to me in like an IV drip. And therefore I give it 4.5 stars out of 5.
Dang.
I know. Now it's a movie I've seen a billion times. My appreciation goes up for it each time. But it is, I guess, maybe like a load-bearing beam where you're like, all the weird stuff makes me like it. Like the way the girl's swaying, like she has to pee, and just all these weird little quirks you start to notice make the movie seem better than it probably is. But I think it's really, really well directed by Steve Miner. I think the sound is great. The score by Harry Manfredini is great. It also just has great sound, great ambient sound, great sound effects. I get so much...
Yeah. There is skill in this movie. Yeah, like I don't feel like I'm watching a you know, you say low budget and I'm surprised. Like I also don't, the Halloween doesn't feel low budget either, because whoever's handling the shots, they're doing a lot with the little that they have.
Yeah.
So it's like mastery is coming. And good sound goes a long freaking way, especially when you get a dose of not good sound. So anyway, I agree that it's well shot and well done. Mm-hmm. Even if it, at the end of the day, I really think a big part of it is the backstory for the killer and the way that they treat the other. It's always going to distract me and make, I'm not experiencing this movie how they intended for me to, and I know that.
Right. And like, whereas I'm barely thinking about the killer at all, because I like the killer, but it's like, that's not really why I love these movies.
Right.
Even though, like, why would you be watching these movies if not for the killer? It's like, I do, but I could also
watch these movies to try to think, what would you do in this situation? Yeah, I think it makes total sense not to root for the killer or to be thinking about him. You're thinking about, don't go there, don't do that. I would have not thought to do that. I would definitely die here, aren't you? The whole time I'm wondering when I would have died.
No,
immediately.
I don't do that.
Oh.
I just assume I'd be bad. I'd be terrible. I'd get killed so fast.
I'd be like, do it.
All the decisions I would make would be wrong.
Right.
And I never blame characters for being stupid, because I'd be stupid too.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that critique of movies. And I think, you know, for people who are like, this doesn't make sense. Jason lived in the water for 20 years, or
who cares?
Last time we saw him, he was young. Now he's old.
He wasn't underwater. He just was by the water.
It's like, I just don't care about that at all.
Right.
But this is my version of Jason that I like, because he is a human. Mm-hmm. He becomes Superman basically after this. He cannot be killed. And they go so far as later in the series to say he has like regenerative cell properties. And I fucking hate that.
Yeah, I don't
want that. But this is just the sweet spot. This is beautiful, a beautiful time capsule. They should never have made these movies past the 80s. The point is, they're a moment in time, beautifully captured. And my rating is really a rating for the series over the individual movie, but I think it's the best in the series. And I think Jenny Amy Steele is pretty terrific as the final girl. So. What's coming up next for us, Lacey?
10 Things I Hate About You, which is your friend Patrick and my friend as well. It is his pick. He will be on the show. Spoiler alert, we all liked it. Hey!
Yeah, Patrick Perot, our friend, makes his long-awaited solo debut. He last joined us alongside Wade, because the three of us are in the band Roll Route 9 together. They did our Blair Witch Project Meet the Parents episode with us, but Patrick's coming on to do 10 Things I Hate About You, his favorite movie. We already recorded this episode. If you think that this episode right here is too short, it's only like an hour and 10 minutes long. That episode's like 2.5 hours long.
Oh, well, so
we went for a long time talking about 10 Things I Hate About You.
Did we?
Yes, but it's a fun episode, and people, our friends and fans, seem to be really excited that we're going to talk about this movie.
Yes.
So that's coming up September 20th. Episode 129. Please tell a friend about our show and give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. 5 stars, please.
Those are the kind.
Subscribe to us on YouTube. We put every episode on YouTube on video. Load Bearing Beams Pod.
See Matt's armpit.
Hey, no, you can't.
See mine.
Hell yeah. I like when she pops out the pit.
Oh.
Pop that pit.
Popping it.
On social media, we already covered that.
Okay.
I am on Letterboxd at Matt Stokes 9.
I am on Letterboxd at Load Bearing Laci. And I almost always don't update it, but I'm trying. I do it in batches. I do it for the month.
You do, and I felt like a real asshole when we were in bed, like Homer and Marge, and I was like, "Hey, babe, did you put your star rating for Friday the 13th Part 2, babe?" And you're like, "I'll do it tomorrow. Remind me." Because our system of reminding each other is send me an email.
Yeah.
And I always do a schedule send. It's like, am I really going to do a schedule send email log letterboxed? All right, I will from now on.
Okay.
Music on the show is by my band Roll Route 9 featuring Patrick Perot and Wade Hemel. We do the song you're hearing now as well as all the other interstitial music and the theme song to Load Bearing Beams. And you can catch our music on Spotify, Apple Music, and all the other places.
Okay.
Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. Hope your luck is better than ours.
You. Goodbye.
No!
No, what? You're not a scream.
Three, four. Everybody, love bearing beams, love bearing